This week has been unprecedented. We've had some unprecedented triumphs and we had some unprecedented disasters. We're talking about the best and the very worst of humankind. Just a few hours ago, at least I watched SpaceX catch a 8 million pound rocket that was on fire, and just a few seconds before was supersonic, heading towards their tower, and they caught this thing out of the air. Absolutely insane engineering and an environment that's focused in on instilling and utilizing the best of the best of the best. A fully competitive environment where the people that are the most competent, that can accomplish amazing things, rise to the cream of the crop. And then we saw some other incidents this week. We saw FEMA. We're going to get into some of the things that FEMA is saying out there and pulling just these things directly off their website, what they say their emphasis is. And if you think that FEMA is about responding to disasters, well, friends, that's not what FEMA says. And let's just say we also have another disaster that happened just last Sunday. So, New Zealand decided that they were going to be a diverse navy. So they appointed their very first lesbian captain of a ship. Great idea, diversity, inclusion, everything. Our strength is our diversity. Well, this lesbian captain managed to not only set her ship on fire, but also to sink it, which takes some doing, if you know what I mean. So she managed to set her ship on fire and capsize her ship after running it aground. Now, I'm not exactly sure how it went from getting run aground to being on fire to being underwater, but I'm not sure that she knows either. And this is one of those situations where, okay, accidents happen in the Navy, yes. But the idea that you should place your crew above their safety above everything else is a disturbing trend that we're seeing not only in the New Zealand Navy. We're going to talk about the Norwegian Navy shortly. We're going to talk about the United States Navy doing the same thing. And this idea, basically, we're going to watch our ship burn to the water line in order to protect our crew. When the whole point of a crew's damage control teams, the training is to save the ship. Because if it's a civilian ship, okay, just let the ship sink. But when you're talking about a Navy warship, the whole thing is the ship doesn't exist to make us money. The ship exists to save our nation. Well, that's not quite inclusive enough. So while we have SpaceX doing technological wonders out there, amazing things, we have the New Zealand Navy who refused to even leave a skeleton crew on the ship to try to put out the fire. Just abandon ship. Let it burn and sink. Now, lest you think that is an isolated incident, and there's the Bomb Richards ship that caught fire inside the port, a U.S. Navy ship. I might be butchering the name on that or whatever, but basically a helicopter carrier caught fire, and instead of putting out the fire, they chose to withdraw the crew and try to put out the fire from the outside, which allowed the fire to spread and cause much more damage. And this is, on one hand, you don't want to put people in harm's way that don't need to be put in harm's way. On the other hand, that's kind of the point of the military. The military exists to do dangerous things in order to protect other people. And if we abandon our equipment, I mean, how fast are we really burning out new ships? Not very quickly. The United States seems to not be able to build them very quickly anymore because China's has 130 times the shipbuilding capacity as the United States. That's a problem. That's a serious problem. And those who haven't been in the military, you know, the whole safety is the most important thing. It seems to make sense. But in the military, isn't the training mission then safety? That the mission is more important than people's safety. And to abandon your ship, whatever happened to a captain going down with their ship, right? Well, clearly not New Zealand. And like I said, so we had a similar incident with the U.S. Navy, with the Bomb Richards, but then also the Norwegian Navy. And this one really echoes what we just saw with the New Zealand Navy. So the New Zealanders have lost their first Navy ship since World War II due to the incompetence of their commanding officer. Let's go back a little further. A few years ago, the Navy of Norway entrusted one of its 5 frigates, one of its 5 main warships, to diversity. That's right. They entrusted their navigators to make sure that they don't run into things. And so 4 out of the 5 navigators on this ship were women, and they celebrated this. They wrote articles about this, about how amazing it is that they have women in command of the ship, steering it around. 1 year later, after these flowery articles talking about how amazing the diversity and everything is, it runs into an oil tanker. And this oil tanker wasn't like somewhere weird. The oil tanker was right next to and going into their to a oil terminal. You know, an oil tanker next to an oil terminal. Can you imagine, right? Well, this Norwegian ship, through failure of navigation, ran into this oil tanker, and then the frigate sank. They had to abandon ship. Again, diversity and ships sinking without anyone shooting at them. At this rate, Russia and China would be better off just waiting for a while until all of the U.S. and its allies' ships just sink due to diversity. But like I said, we're going to get to FEMA here, who doesn't think that, here's a quote, response is no longer about emergency response. It is about diversity. This is from a FEMA disaster preparedness meeting. FEMA relief is no longer about getting the greatest good for the greatest amount of people. Why not? That sounds pretty good. It's about disaster equity. So, is North Carolina feeling that disaster equity? The reason why you're not getting enough food, the reason why you're not getting enough help is because you're not gay enough. And that sounds a little, and then you realize that's absolutely true. If you were more diverse, people have been reporting on how on the FEMA website there are 2 options, whether you're part of an LGBTQ community or whether you're not. And when you go to the not, you don't get any help. What if you go over there? What if you go over to the I'm diverse. Get a little more help. Get help a little faster. Because that's equity. Not equality. Not equality. Not equal treatment before the law. But equity. Here is part of their 2022 to 2026 strategic plan. We're right in the middle of this. It's already partially implemented. They're almost there. We will remain focused on increased equity in our programs and policies, leading resilience into a changing climate and strengthening the emergency management workforce. So I ask, again, those people in disasters, are you seeing a strengthened emergency management workforce? Is it lots of people out there ready to do work and get that stuff done? Or are they clock punchers working 9 to 5 on weekdays who have the right hair colors, which is anything other than a natural hair color, who have piercings and all those things are fine. All those things are fine individually. But when we start seeing that the kind of person being hired, the kind of person that is being focused in on being hired is not the person most competent for the job, but rather the person most diverse. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about climate stuff. They're talking about people coming across the southern territories, the others coming in. This is what they're focusing in on. People who have it hard, so we can ignore all of the white people, all of the people who vote red, all of the people who live in the wrong counties. All of those people can be ignored because we're helping the greater good. We're going to let those people kind of sort it out themselves because they already have privilege. We need to help those people who don't necessarily have a disaster, but they need help. Why? Because diversity and inclusion and all the other buzzwords that we need to use in order to properly describe things. And this is where you get Navy ships that can't not sink in peacetime. This is where you get everything just doesn't work anymore. And then you look at the counterpoint here. Elon Musk, who helped build PayPal, he helped program PayPal. That's where he made his money. Went out and bought a car company that didn't make cars. Their hope was that they were going to make cars and they were going to make electric cars, which nobody had really been able to figure out how to make that work. Somehow he made that work. And then he bought up SpaceX, which had the ambition of making rockets. But it wasn't making rockets yet. And it wanted to make rockets that they would be able to land those rockets, which everybody thought was crazy. And yet he managed to pull it off. Then he buys Twitter and he lays off 75% of the workforce. Who can buy a company and lay off 3 out of 4 employees and not only have a functioning company, but have a better functioning company? He's crazy. He's absolutely crazy. He walked into Twitter and said, if you can't explain to me why you have a job, if you can't point to code that you've written that has made Twitter better, you're fired. A lot of people got fired because they didn't actually do anything. SpaceX, people that actually can solve problems, engineers being promoted, and people who couldn't solve problems, who made problems, getting fired. Can you imagine if the US government were to follow that just idea? It's not about creating rockets that can land themselves. It's about rewarding competence, hard work, but not just hard work, but innovative hard work. Work that results in productive measures. Everybody's been part of a business probably at some point where you're like, we have to do these things. They don't make sense. They don't actually help anything, but we have to do them anyway because it's just part of the job. Dumb things. Now, perhaps you've been blessed and only been part of businesses that were completely efficient and never had any extraneous tasks that just really didn't help. But most of us have experienced businesses where stuff doesn't need to happen, but it has to happen anyway because it's been decreed by the people on high. This is where all this DEI fluff comes in. This is where all of the diversity, inclusion, it's just all these little things that just don't need to happen. If we just enforce the simple policy of if you build useful stuff, if you make useful stuff for the business that actually helps the business, you should be promoted. And if you don't, you should be fired. And it doesn't matter what your hair color is. It doesn't matter about your piercings. It doesn't matter about your political persuasions. If you do good work, you should be promoted. Well, that's not the case anymore. And this is where we have a problem with FEMA that can't do its basic job. New Zealand Navy, who can't do their basic job. That ship was there mapping the reef. They were focused on the reef. Like, it wasn't like they were doing something else and, oh my gosh, there's a reef. It's, we're here because there's a reef there. And they ran into it. It takes a quality kind of person, a diverse kind of person, to be able to pull that off. And somehow get your ship to catch fire too at the same time is just truly special in all of the very worst ways. Friends, we are surrounded by very special people who can't comprehend what competency looks like, who can't do their jobs because they don't even fundamentally understand what their job is. They don't understand what business they're in. They don't understand anything other than the political agenda that they're trying to push in whatever agency, business, anything that they're in. And it's this kind of stuff that we need to push back on. Listen, friends, we can't keep going the way we're going. Either something needs to change or we're toast as a civilization. And that's the truth. All right, friends. Well, hopefully you're having a good Sunday. Otherwise, I see hope on the horizon. If Donald Trump gets in office and does even half of what he's promised, I think that will move us in the right direction. That's my personal opinion. Apparently, he's going to hire or appoint Elon Musk to clean house and to make government efficient, which I don't know if I believe that that's possible. But until this morning, I didn't believe it was possible to land a frickin' 8 million pound on fire rocket onto a tower. But apparently it is possible because I've seen a whole bunch of footage and I've seen it from all different angles. Absolutely, absolutely insane. Maybe, just maybe, we can actually get out of the jam that we're in. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up there. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report out.